Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Natalie and today is my second video in my home buying journey. I am so excited. I love filming these videos for you and I find them very helpful, hopefully. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, so thank you. If you guys are in the process of buying a house, if you are curious about the home buying process, if you guys are just wanting to refer to this because you're thinking of buying one in the future, you've come to the right place. While I do need to make a disclaimer, I'm not a professional, I'm not a real estate agent, I don't work in real estate. This is just my personal experience and my personal advice. Whenever I was looking on the internet for tips on how to buy a house or what the process was like to buy a house, there was just so much information out there that it was honestly super confusing. So I wanted to kind of film this in real time for you and show you guys what my experience was like, taking you guys through the steps. So I just finished purchasing a home. I closed on the house and I have vlogs up on the process, so if you want to keep up with where I'm at in real time with the home buying process and now the renovation process, definitely subscribe and watch my vlogs. I also wanted to make sit down videos that properly gave you advice on how to buy a house and what that process looks like. Let me know any other video ideas that you guys want to see, but I just wanted to mention that so that if you guys are curious about this or if you stumbled across this video, you probably will like the other ones on my channel as well. So like I said, I have another video in this series and it was all about money. It was all about how to save for a house, what can you afford and how to figure out how much you can afford, how long it's going to take you to save, how to budget, how much to pay for your down payments, like all of that stuff is in that video. So if you guys want to refer to that first and then catch me here later, that sounds good, because I do think it's important to know how much you can afford and all of that stuff before you begin looking for a home. Today's video is all about how to find your home and how to find a house for you to purchase. Let's just get into it. First thing in your home buying searching journey, house search, your first step, that's it. Your first step in your house search is going to be location. You have to figure out where you're gonna buy. So I know you probably know a city, at least I hope you know the city, but finding out neighborhoods within that city. I would definitely narrow it down to 3 to 4 max neighborhoods that you are looking at, and I would look at those neighborhoods only. From my experience, I'm looking in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte has a ton of different areas. It's not just like the downtown and that's it. There's a ton of different areas in Charlotte, so I picked a few neighborhoods that I wanted to look in, and that's kind of what I stuck to, because if I looked at the whole city, it would just be so overwhelming, and then you get to the suburbs, and then you get to the boroughs, and it's too much. Narrow down your search to a few neighborhoods in the city that you're looking for. And now you might be asking, well, how do I know which neighborhoods? Which is a great question. So I'm going to tell you some questions that you need to answer before you figure out the location that, or your neighborhood that you're gonna be buying your house in. And these are the questions that I asked myself, that I found out, that I researched, and that's how I decided on location. So the first question is, how much are houses selling for? Regardless if you are buying for an investment or just a house for yourself or for your family, I think it's a good idea to look at the housing market in your neighborhood, because whether you're selling this year or in 5 years, your priorities will be a little different, but you want the area to be appreciating. You don't want the houses to be dropping in price. If you're renovating a house, for example, you don't want to buy a house in an area, put $100,000 into the renovations, and then not get your money back. So you have to make sure that that area is selling for over what you're going to be putting into it, if that makes sense. So looking at the housing market is just super important. So I wanted to make sure that I was buying in a place that houses were selling for much more than I was buying for. Second question is, how many houses are selling? So aside from the price, how many houses are on the market in your neighborhood? And this is important because if houses have been sitting on the market for weeks and weeks and weeks, or months and months and months, it might not be the best area for you to buy in. Or it could, depending on what you're buying for, but these are the questions I asked myself. And if you're in a place that has sold a ton of houses in the last year or in the last few months, you know that you are in a hot market and it's probably gonna increase in value. Of course, this depends on your timeline. If you're not planning on selling for another 10 years, then maybe this doesn't really matter right now. But if you're trying to sell in the next few months, in the next year, you know, it might be a little more important. Obviously, assess your priorities, see what you're purchasing for, but I think that that is important to see how many houses are actually selling in your neighborhood, and it will kind of tell you what the market is like. And then the third question to ask, which this one might not be important for some of you, but is how are the schools there? So a lot of websites will tell you what rating the school has in that area, and depending on what you're looking for, that might be something to take into consideration. This one wasn't the highest on my priority list. The other ones were much higher priority, but I wanted to include that in here because I do think it's important for some people to note that schools really do matter with resale price. Whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, schools matter when you are trying to sell your house. I always have to include that in there because for some people, that's something that kind of doesn't get looked at if you don't have kids yet. But if you're trying to sell it to a family or you're gonna have kids in the future, it's just something to look at. I decided on areas that were gonna be a good investment for me short term. So I wanted to make sure that if I sold the house within a year, that it would sell and I would make a profit. So I looked at areas that the houses were appreciating, that houses were getting flipped, houses were getting renovated, people were selling the house for more than what I bought my house for and more than the money that I will be investing in the house for. I wanted a place that was family friendly because so many families are moving to Charlotte, and I wanted to pick a neighborhood that had plenty of houses selling every single day and that the market was hot. That's how I determined my locations, and that's how I came up with the 3 locations that I was looking into. And also, I'm not really gonna share the areas that I was looking in Charlotte because of safety reasons. Now that you have narrowed down your search to the area, you can start looking. My favorite websites to use are realtor.com and redfin.com. It's a personal preference. For some reason, I hate Zillow, and I don't know why I hate Zillow, because I don't know, so many people use it, but I think realtor.com and redfin.com are just the superior realtor and real estate websites. So the first thing I would do is I would set filters on these apps. So if you watched my previous video, you should know by now what you can afford, and you should honestly have already been pre-approved. So you should know the type of house that you are looking for. So I would, 1, set a budget filter. I would say max this amount because I knew I wasn't gonna buy a house that was more than that, so there was no point in searching for them. So I set a budget and I made sure I never went over it. So that's definitely key. Don't go over your budget, because then you're gonna find a house that's gonna be more expensive and you're gonna want it, and if it's not what you can afford, then why put yourself through that? I would also filter out the type of home I wanted. I personally wanted a single family home. I didn't want a townhouse. I didn't want a condo. So I ruled all of that out. And then every house on the website that I was looking for, I would save and put in a folder. So that is, I know, the most basic way to search, and I feel like I didn't have to explain that, but it was just important to note that I only looked in the areas that I wanted to purchase in. I didn't go to the outside neighborhood. Making sure that you're doing that preliminary location search is super important, and then you can take it to the big leagues and go on realtor.com. And also, this was kind of a preliminary search. So once I figured out the areas that I wanted, I would just look at the houses in that area and kind of see what's being sold, what's on the market, just so I could get a feel for it. Like, how many bedrooms would I realistically be able to get with this amount of money? And for me, I wasn't really focused on the number of bedrooms. I wasn't focused on, you know, the size of the lot. I was mainly focused on just like, what can I afford with my budget? But that all could be important to you. So making sure that what you're looking for can fit into your budget is another important thing. So before you actually begin like searching for a home, I would honestly do that preliminary search and just see what can you afford in this area to begin with, because that is super, super important just to kind of get a feel for what's out there. View this as kind of like your fun time just to see what's out there and what it looks like and what the quality of the homes look like for in your budget. Now you are ready to purchase. You got your location down. You got a feel for what the houses were like in that area. So the first thing that you need to do is get pre-approved. This is very, very, very important. So now that you have your preliminary search, you've searched for your location, and you've saved money to buy a house, and you're ready to put an offer in a house, and you're ready to start looking for real, like working with a realtor, like actually looking, then you need to get pre-approved. That is the #1 step that you need to do before you find your dream home. And this is not applying for a loan. I need to say this is not getting your loan. This is getting a mortgage broker to approve that you can afford something. So it's kind of showing like a letter to, if you put an offer in, being like, hey, I'm gonna get approved for a loan most likely. You know, like I have the credentials, I have the money, I have the amount, you know, I'm a good candidate for a loan. because especially in hot markets, it's so important to get pre-approved. If you put an offer in, but that house has another offer of someone that is pre-approved, that person's gonna have peace of mind knowing that this person has already gotten pre-approved. Nothing weird is gonna happen. It's not gonna fall through. They're actually a serious candidate versus someone who's not pre-approved. You might not know how serious of a candidate they are or how serious of an offer it is, or worst thing is if you're waiting down the line to close on the house and then they don't get the loan. Getting pre-approved just means that your offer is just gonna be stronger, and you know, you're probably not gonna not get a loan. You get pre-approved for a loan that is going to be the price of your house or an estimate of how much you want to spend. Think of getting pre-approved as like getting an apartment in New York City, which if you guys are from New York, have ever lived in New York, you know how annoying it is to get approved for an apartment. But there's a lot of paperwork involved. So what they needed from me, and being self-employed is a whole different story, but they needed your previous 2 tax returns, all of your statements, so your bank statements, your retirement statement, your investment accounts, like any cash that you have, any worth to your name, they need the statements for that. Your previous rental history or previous purchase history, and W-2s from employers. If you're self-employed, there's a few other things that you need, but that's pretty much the gist of it. They just need to make sure that they can verify your income, because they're not just gonna trust that you make however much you say you make. If you are employed by an employer, then they're gonna need some pay stubs to verify that. The loan officer is gonna run your credit, gather all the documents, and then within 24 hours to a week, you should know if you got pre-approved for the amount that you wanted. Getting pre-approved is a necessary step before putting in an offer for a home. So I would honestly get pre-approved before you even start looking, because chances are you're gonna put an offer the day you see a house so that it doesn't slip away. Now, finding a realtor. It is time to stop dreaming and actually start the process of looking for your home. You are going to need a realtor to work with. So this is something that I got a lot of questions about, is how do I find a realtor? You need to find a realtor that really values like educating you on the subject, especially if this is your first time buying a house, which I'm assuming it is if you're watching this video. You want to find someone that is not just looking to make a quick buck and that's it. You want someone that is going to take their time to understand your needs, your wants, your budget, and is actually going to be patient and also efficient and quick and all of the above. You're gonna want a good realtor. It's not something that you are really just gonna wanna pick one off the internet and that's it. You really are gonna wanna make sure that you have a good realtor that you're working with, especially your first time buying a house. And I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. My mom is a realtor, so I worked with my mom. A lot of people asked, how did I find a realtor? And I had to do my research on how to find a realtor, and I had to ask my mom on what's the best way to find a realtor, because if I didn't have her, I would have to do these things, and I want to make sure that I provide value for you guys. So there's 3 things, but the first one is definitely by far the best way to find one, and it is word of mouth. So number 1, word of mouth, referrals. If you know anyone in the city that you are buying in, if they have worked with a real estate agent, the best thing to do is just ask, hey, did you like them? Were they helpful? But I know that that is not the case for majority of people. So if you can't do word of mouth and you don't know anyone that has worked with a realtor before, the second best thing is to honestly go into that location that you are, go into the neighborhoods that you are looking to purchase a home in, and see if there's a common realtor there, because that person probably knows the area really well. Going in an area and seeing if there's a lot of the same realtor or the same real estate agent could be a good way to find it, and then obviously vetting them and making sure that they're right for you. And then number 3, online. Honestly, I know like realtor.com and redfin.com, they have places to find a realtor. You can look at reviews, you can, you know, just search for realtors in Charlotte, North Carolina and see what comes up. But I know most people don't like going that route because it is way less personal and it's way more risky. So definitely what I would do is word of mouth and just kind of seeing the area and seeing who's working a lot, because that's probably a good sign. But worst comes to worst, you can always look online and just make sure that you are vetting your realtor before you just kind of sign on to them. So now, finding the home. Your real estate agent can definitely help you find homes. That is really what they're there for, but you can do a lot of research on your own. Personally, I did a lot of research on my own, so I would look on realtor and redfin.com and find houses in the area, and then ask, like send them to my mom and be like, can we go see these houses? That's how I would do it. That your realtor can definitely curate homes for you, and that's kind of what they should be doing, honestly. But I would also do a lot of the work by myself too. Making sure that it is a 2-sided relationship and that both of you are on the hunt will definitely be the best way to kind of find a home, especially quickly. And also, once I found a home, I moved quickly. I booked an appointment literally that day to find the house. Make your appointments, you know, ask your real estate agent to schedule time, free up some time in your schedule so you actually have time to look at houses, but move quickly. Don't find a house and then say, oh, I'm gonna go look at it next week. Try to open up your schedule and try to go to the houses as quickly as possible. And your real estate agent can make the appointments for like going and touring the house in person. So now once you find a house that you love and that you are really wanting to see and you go in person, here are a few things that I would look for. Are the surrounding houses in the area taken care of? What's the maintenance like for the surrounding houses? Because your house value, your home value does depend on the houses around you. So you want to make sure that the houses around you are being kept up, are, you know, going to sell for more or around the same that you're selling for, and not lower the value of your home because of the surrounding homes. What street is it on? Because if it's on a main road, that's going to deter a lot of families. And while it might not deter everyone, it does limit your market, because now families with little kids or families with dogs might not want to live on a main road. Seeing what the road looks like is also super, super important. I was going to put an offer on a house that was on a main road, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because yes, it probably would have sold because Charlotte is just going really quickly. I knew that we would have a harder time selling it because a lot of families wouldn't want to live there, or, you know, many people don't want to live in a place with a lot of noise, or if it's hard to pull out of your driveway. So all of those things are things to look at and ask yourself. Number 3 is more of a question that I wanted to ask because I was renovating a house. So if you are renovating, this is a good question to ask. Are the other houses being renovated, or is yours gonna be the first one? Because I didn't wanna be the first house in the neighborhood to renovate, because I didn't want to kind of wait for the other houses to catch up. I wanted my house to kind of be in there when the market was hot. Houses in my surrounding area were getting renovated, so I personally enjoyed that. So there was precedent for renovated homes, and I could already do my research on how much they sold for. Number 4, is it a kid-friendly home? Again, you just don't want to take out a whole market of people that have kids from buying your house. And the last one, does this house need work? So does it need work on the inside? Does it need work on the outside? Because you have to add that into your budget. When I bought my house, I knew I was gonna do renovations, so I added it into my budget. I didn't buy it and then was like, oh no, we have renovations to do, now I can't afford it. I accounted that and all the renovations I wanted to do into the budget of my home. And then also, will the renovations pay off? So let's say your house needs work and you need to renovate it. Is the amount of money that you're gonna put into the house renovating it, is it gonna be worth it? So you have to do a lot of math, you have to do a lot of research, but I mean, buying a house is not a small decision, so all of these things you're gonna need to consider. And I wanted to title this video How to Find Your Dream Home, but then I took it back because I was like, you don't need to find your dream home. Your house does not need to fit every single checkbox. It honestly probably won't. It's very impossible unless you are building a custom home to check off every single checkbox. And even then, with budget restraints, it's impossible. So instead of focusing on your dream home, focus on, is this a home that you like and that is checking off most of your boxes or some of your boxes, and a list of priorities. Do you need to have a certain amount of bedrooms? Do you need to be in a specific location? Do you need to have, you know, a 2-story house? Or do you need to have a backyard? Do you need to have this? All of these things, you should have a list of priorities on what you absolutely need, and then things that are a little more negotiable for some wiggle room. Not only is that gonna help you with your search, but it's also gonna help your realtor with her search, or his search. And again, personally, this is the stuff that I looked for, and these were my absolute top priorities when I was looking to buy my home. Number 1, location. Number 2, the potential to make a profit. And number 3, family friendly. Those were the 3 things that I was looking for, and those were kind of my non-negotiables. And then the rest, the amount of bedrooms, the square footage, the lot size, those kind of fell away and were a little more negotiable. I can definitely say I found a home that I really, really love. And everyone's list is different, so that's why I just recommend making a list for yourself, and it definitely would help you and your realtor. So now, congrats, you found your home. Now it's time to put an offer in. And this is a formal offer. I used to think, you guys, that you would just call up the realtor and was like, hey, this is my offer. $500,000. I think I've just watched Selling Sunset too many times that I literally just thought it was a phone call and that was it. But no, you have to actually put in a formal offer, which is like a lot of paperwork. Well, at least it's paperwork for your realtor. Charlotte market is super competitive right now. I've said that literally a million times. So this is totally gonna depend on the city that you're looking to buy in. But for being so competitive, I wanted to put in a competitive offer, because when my mom called the realtor and she was like, hey, we're gonna send in a formal offer, he told us that there were 3 other offers on the house already. And it was day 1 of being on the market. It was literally day 1. I saw it, you guys, I got to the house before the realtor went in and put his for sale sign. I got there 20 minutes after it went on the market. What helped my case is that I had a high down payment, so I did put 20%, but you do not need to put 20%. You can literally put 5%. You don't need 20%. I put 20% down. I offered a higher due diligence, and then I also was pre-approved, which definitely helped my case. I actually offered more than what the home was selling for. So I offered more than the asking price because I knew that there were a lot of offers on the house and I really just wanted it. So those were the ways that I made my offer competitive. However, it definitely depends on the market, and you can discuss with your realtor ways to make your offer competitive based on where you're looking for, or maybe you don't need to. Maybe you don't need to make it competitive, and that's totally fine. And then I got accepted. My offer was accepted a few days later, and I vlogged closing day so you guys can see that. But if you guys want me to make another video on how to make a competitive offer, kind of go more in depth with that and what closing day is like, what you need for closing day, all of that stuff, then you can definitely let me know. But I hope that this video was helpful. It is very, 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 very long, so I'm hoping that I can cut it down but still make it useful. And let me know any other videos in this series that you want, because I think that would be really helpful for me and really helpful for everyone else too. So if you guys have any tips to include, please leave them down below. Again, like I said, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a realtor. This is my personal experience. I might have said a few things wrong, so if I did, I will clarify them in the comments. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be sure to subscribe if you want to see my vlogs of the home renovation process and just more videos. Then definitely subscribe, but I will see you guys next time in another video. Bye guys.